So this week I did a couple challenges. One of them was to run 5 miles, and the other one was to learn and talk a little bit about what I knew about CRISPR. And a couple things I learned from running 5 miles was that I definitely don't like running. I found that running was very difficult for me, and I was kind of reminded of why I have avoided running. As if you guys saw in the video I posted, I kind of talked about how I would avoid running. Other than like in basketball season, we would have to run. That's about the only time I would run. And going through this challenge kind of made me think about. It kind of made me think about taking on tasks similar to running that maybe I would think twice about doing. So another physical challenge that I've thought about is doing the splits, and that's something that I've worked towards, that I've progressed with, but I've still found it difficult, and I've stopped doing it because it was difficult, but I've been doing a little bit again. And like what that teaches me, like with taking on a challenge like running, or taking on anything like running that I don't want to do, I learn a lot about what makes me feel comfortable. So running is definitely one of those things that make me feel uncomfortable, and putting myself in that uncomfortable situation, I think, exposes my fears to myself. It kind of exposes reasons why I stay in my comfort zone, and one of those reasons that I learned from running is that I can easily stick to a schedule if I'm doing something that is comfortable for me. Like I can easily stick to some kind of program that I find comfortable in. So, like doing jumping stuff, like that was fairly comfortable for me. Like I felt comfortable doing jumping exercises because I was just in that mode. Like I was in the, I'm just working to increase my vertical. So the zone I felt comfortable in was just doing jumping workouts. But going off of that track and doing something like running, something that I would always think twice about doing, it's put me in that uncomfortable zone, that zone that I wouldn't necessarily cross into unless I had to, like for basketball season or some situation like that. It kind of made me, it just showed me that other place. It showed me what I can gain from putting myself in that uncomfortable situation. And like one of the things I learned from putting myself in the uncomfortable situation of having to run 5 miles and stick to that was what I would think about before that, like what I would think about before running, and then how I would feel after. So before running, it was the same this whole week. It was, I don't want to do this. I would procrastinate. I would just kind of sit around, find something else to do before I would go run. And then I would really have to, convince myself that, okay, you're doing this to test yourself. You're doing this to do something you don't want to do, so just do it. And I would have to have that loop of thoughts that, you should do this, but I would have to get into that thought process before I would actually just go do it. Whereas, before with jumping, I was kind of in that zone, and I felt like I could just go into it without thinking twice about it. It was just that this is what I was going to do. This is what I am doing. This is what I'm showing you guys. This is just what my life was in terms of working out then. So I would just do it without really thinking much about it. But with running, it's actually making me think about what I'm doing. It's making me prepare myself. It's made me be more tuned in with with the actual physical exercise, or the actual doing of the activity. Like when I'm running, I'm fully in, like I'm fully into running. Like there's no, something just clicked. Oh yeah, nothing. Thought it shut off. Like I'm fully into running. Like it's hard to think about. It's really hard to think about really anything else when I'm just focusing on running. And I mean, not to say that that happened with doing jumping stuff that was challenging for me, but it was just a different kind of uncomfortable and challenging feeling while I was running. And that's how it would feel before, and then during, and then afterwards. I felt like I had just really accomplished something that I would not have done unless I accepted the challenge of doing it. And I accepted that I was going to be uncomfortable before and during, but when I actually just did it afterwards, it felt like it like changed me in a way, because I had just went over the mental barrier of thinking that I couldn't do it, or that it was going to be very difficult. And I said this in the first video about coming back to YouTube, was that was like the major reason I went into dunking, and I went into that challenge, because it was a challenge for me. And it still is a challenge, but I think with running, or with any other of these challenges, or physical, mental, whatever they are, it's putting yourself into new situations. It's putting yourself into new realms that you might never have crossed into, unless you accepted that this is going to be uncomfortable, that I'm going to learn things about myself that I might not like. I'm going to expose things about myself that I might find just that I might have never have discovered unless I took on these challenges. So with the mental challenge of doing CRISPR and learning about CRISPR, that one was different than the physical, in that I had to think about how I was going to learn and how I was going to explain it. And some of the questions I came up with from learning about CRISPR and just thinking about it was not that I wanted to come on here and explain to you guys like how CRISPR works, and like it was just going to be about like the mechanism of it all, but it was just going to be what I thought, like what new ideas, what new knowledge did I gain from actually learning about CRISPR and going deeper into it than I had already. And what I got from it was, like, one of the big questions I got from it was, what's going to happen to humanity if everybody has access to this technology where they can edit their genes at will? Like if somebody has the choice of wanting to be more muscular, if we have the access, or if people have the access to change that gene where they can be more muscular, like who knows how far that can go? Like who knows if that gets into the wrong hands, how they might change other things about themselves. But yeah, that was one of the major questions I got to. And then, like, the more I thought about it, the more I thought about what CRISPR was and the implications it can have for humanity. I also thought about, maybe one day we're not going to be recognized as humans as like the way we see each other today. Like maybe the whole way that humanity looks is going to completely change. Maybe the way that babies are born, like it's going to be completely different. Not in like, I mean, who knows? Maybe it is going to be like how they are born, but in terms of the traits that they have, the genes that they inherit, like that can all be manipulated. And I think that in itself is another thing that might expose things about humanity. It might expose what people think is like the ideal person, the ideal human. And I think that's what maybe CRISPR is going to allow us to do one day. It's going to, because if CRISPR is being used to treat disease or to change a gene that causes some disease in a newborn, then there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of questions of why can't people do it for like cosmetic reasons or reasons that they don't have to do with disease. So I think those are some of the thoughts that came to me from just looking into CRISPR, watching videos, reading stuff on it. And I mean, the mechanisms and how it works, it's all like very interesting, but I still think I need to learn more just about science in general before I can talk about that in a way that would be like talking about it as if it's new knowledge. Like I need to create those connections first. I need to have that groundwork laid before I can actually start having some type of conversation about the more like scientific aspects about it. Not that I can't have a conversation about it now, but I think that's where doing any of these challenges, whether it's physical, but maybe more with the mental side, like all of these are going to be like a continuous learning like it's going to be a continuous learning. So this, I put on the thumbnail of the last video, I put like start at the top, because that marks the start of me challenging myself to run. It marks the start of learning about CRISPR. But when I put out this summary video, like this isn't necessarily the end. This isn't going to be the end of learning about CRISPR or challenging myself with some physical activity like running. But it's going to be there's going to be a continuous stream of learning that goes along with this. But I think it's that starting point that is just crucial to get to if you want to grow in anything. I mean, just to relate it back to dunking, like it was so hard to just start that. It was so hard to just go into that and not be afraid that maybe I'm not gonna dunk, or maybe I'm gonna do all of this and it's gonna be a waste. I'm just gonna do these workouts and who knows if it'll work or not. Like it was just a challenge in itself to start and go into and just step into the challenge and accepting whatever happened. And that's why I put that start at the top, because it marks the start of doing something I might have never thought about doing, might have never thought about learning about, but it's being open to that. It's being open to doing something new, to doing something that is going to expand my knowledge. It's going to expand my understanding of this life that really no one seems to understand fully. So that's the whole point of these videos. That's not the whole point. Like, I don't even want to say that there's going to be a point to... There's going to be a point, one point to putting out, to like any of the content coming out. It's that this is going to be a continuous... You guys will see a continuous stream of just learning and living and just like being open to new things, being open to just growing as a human being. So yeah, that's the kind of videos that these are going to be like. I mean, I say that now, but who knows how they'll change. But I mean, you guys will see that, and that's what I want. Like, I didn't want to set this up as like this is going to be a structured thing, that every video is going to be about the same thing, or that it's going to be some kind of program, or that it's going to be some specific amount of time. It's that this is going to be a continuous thing. There's going to be constant changes, and I'm going to constantly be learning new things. I'm going to be constantly challenging what I'm doing. I'm going to be challenging you guys. I'm going to be posing questions to you guys, and maybe having you guys think about stuff I'm saying. I mean, in any of these videos, even in this video right now, like if some question pops in your head and you have some idea about something, just like put it in the comment for yourself, or just put it somewhere so that way it kind of like sticks in your head more, and it stands out, and it's recorded somewhere. So yeah, if you guys want to do that, that'd be cool, just to have some engagement with the videos in that way. But like that's what I want to do with these videos. Just expand. Just be open to just being open to new things. Having curiosity about other aspects of life that have nothing to do with dunking, have nothing to do with fitness or any of that. Just having the willingness to be open to things that you might have never thought about before. And that's pretty much where I think I'm going to wrap up the video. So, yeah. Really have nothing else coming to mind right now that I want to say. So, I think I'm going to stop the video right here. Yeah, stay tuned for more videos like this. Maybe not just like this, but just more content that is new and not all the same. So I'm going to end the video here, and I will see you guys in the next one.